When it comes to BMX racing, when it comes to winning BMX races, rather, you need three bodies that are well developed. Three bodies that are well developed: the physical body, the emotional body, and also the mental body. Now, what do those three things have to do with you winning BMX races? Well, stick around and let's talk about it. All right, guys. Hey, welcome back to another Tuesday night edition of BMX Coach Live. I'm your host, three-time Olympic coach Greg Romero, coming from lovely, beautiful, and sunny San Diego. Yes, everything is well over here on the West Coast. Hope you guys are doing well. If you guys are chiming in on live, on this channel at BMX Training is to help as many newer and younger riders of our sport, and also at the same time help them thrive, experience their potential, and sustain it. All right. So, man, I had a crazy day today. I'm in the middle of moving. Moving's crazy because, well, for me, we purchased this house and we're renovating it, but at the same time, this house that I'm renting here, we're kind of preparing it for the landlord to sell. So I'm preparing two houses at the same time. And man, today I just spent 2 hours cleaning the range, cleaning the oven, cleaning all the grates and whatnot, man. Really crazy stuff. And man, I didn't have much time to prepare, but you guys know how I do it. I love to do extemporaneous presentations. And so I thought about it. When it comes to winning BMX races, we tend to focus on one thing, just going fast. And I just got to go fast. And, when it comes to a lot of my dissecting of great athletes that want to be the best, at the high Olympic level, we go a little bit deeper. And when we go deeper, we start looking into things such as the physical body, the emotional body, and also the mental body. And if you notice, I have it in that specific order, right? So we have the physical body, which is the base, right? So if you think about the pyramids of Egypt, there's a base layer, and you have to establish that in an effort to get to the top and put that top piece on, right? Have you ever wondered how the heck they even built the pyramids of Egypt? It's so fascinating to me, man, because today's man-made machines couldn't even move those big pieces of brick. Nonetheless, when it comes to developing your base for BMX, you need that physical body established, right? So that means you need to be strong, you need to be powerful, you need to be well conditioned, you need to have flexibility, and of course, you want to be able to have an ideal power to weight ratio. If you're a little bit on the heavy side or on the skinny side, we want to find that nice balance to where you're a power athlete. BMX racing is pretty much a sprint athlete sport. It's like track and field. And so, the ideal cyclist for racing, okay, and I'm talking at the highest level, right? This is not for every class, but ideally, you guys want to model yourselves after track and field sprinters. They're lean, they're powerful, they're strong, they're fast, okay? Not too small, not too big. Now, that's not to say that you couldn't be 6'4" versus a 5'2" Donnie Robinson, 6'3" Mike Day versus a 5'2" Donnie Robinson. Both went to the Olympic Games and both received medals. Completely different, opposite in terms of body physical types. However, they focused on being sprinters and sprinters first. And that's where things like bike fits and optimizing gearing and of course getting into the gym, of course, and putting in that physical work and building that physical foundation and engine is really, really important. Next on the list, when we go from there, we want to focus on the emotional body, right? From the physical body, we got to work on that emotional body. And I tend to think, and I'm guilty of this, I can recall a time when I was 14, 15 years old, and all I did was focused on squatting and bench pressing and just thinking, yeah, man, if I just get strong, I'm going to win races. It's that simple. And you know what? When you're that young, that is true. And for a lot of us, that may be true. And for some that want to sustain their success, you have to work on the emotional body. You have to work on having behavior flexibility because, you got to be available whether it's raining, snowing, wind. If the tracks are not your optimal, favorable to your style conditions, right? Like you come across a track that, you know, I don't know. I've been across many tracks in my lifetime where I've showed up and I'm like, man, I hate this track. And it's really affected me emotionally. It drained me emotionally. I had no flexibility and it turned out to be a shit weekend. And so having that behavior flexibility where, you know what, you're just you're going to kind of go with the flow, if you will, in terms of, you know, the environment, the track, the people you race. Okay. And not only about the track and the environment, but think about the people you race. I coach so many athletes, and a lot of them get caught up on, hey, you know, this guy was there this weekend and I want to see how I went with him. And, you know, and or they get caught up when they see someone really competitive on the moto sheets. And that's really, really tough. It's really, really tough. And so we'll get to the mental body. Let's give a shout out to the guys that are in the live chat room. JP, Matt McClooey, Dylan McGann, Jason P, Jacob James. Everyone says, hey, coach. What's up, coach? Good afternoon. Thunder Midget and Henrik and Jeffrey Roden. He says Noah's going for a gold plate this year. Dude, that's crazy good. That's awesome. Man, hope you guys are doing well. Welcome back. Looks like we're, guys, ask as many questions as you can. If you guys have any questions as it pertains to this quick extemporaneous presentation in terms of the ideal BMX athlete and what are those components that you guys need to focus on in an effort to win races. Again, we're talking about the physical body, the emotional body, and also the mental body. Tell me what you guys are doing physically to prepare that base. If you guys are watching on the replay, let me know what you guys are doing for that physical base to establish yourself in an effort to start winning races and win more races. I am curious. Cool. So, last but not least, can we talk about the mental mindset? Man, one of my favorite subjects, as you guys know. As a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, we look at the mind in two different ways. We separate it in two different ways. Number one, we have the mindset. Number two, we have a mind state. Both kind of complement each other, but they're not exactly the same. The mindset is going to consist of your values and your beliefs. And also you have the mind state, which is pretty much, hey, what state are you in? What thoughts and feelings are going through your body? What are you experiencing in the present moment? How are you feeling, or what are you thinking, and what are your emotions as you get into that gate before it drops or while it drops? Your mind is very, very important because everything is state dependent. Now let's talk about the mindset, because I think the mindset really at the end of the day is going to determine whether or not you're going to get into a habit of winning races, right? And really at the end of the day, the mindset is so key, okay? Because the mindset has two key ingredients, two key ingredients, which is, again, values and motivation. Where are you going to get all that ambition when motivation runs out and when you need to push even further to keep training when you get tired? To keep pushing day after day, to be consistent every day, right? You have to have that underlying, underpinning reason, that why, that purpose, okay? And so you have to figure that out for yourself. And it's really, really hard for a lot of us to do, because we tend to think like, oh, you know what? Well, I just want to win races. Great. For what purpose? If you can find what that purpose is and really identify the key values, right? Let's move on to values. What does BMX racing mean to you? But more importantly, what does accomplishing this goal mean to you? And identify those values and then start operating within those value range of who you're trying to become, right? Whether you're trying to become a winner of BMX, you're trying to become a consistent main maker, you're trying to become a national champion, you're trying to become an Olympic champion, right? So next we have what we have is beliefs. What he was where his dad and his mom just pumped in his brain and really just created a nice environment as he was, in his first 7 years of his life, that in our eyes, right? Everything was a yes, not everything was a no. And that's the problem when we're raised in the first 7 years of our life, we hear the ratio of no to yes 8 to 1. we hear that we can't do this, we can't do that, no, we can't do this, not today, not tonight, not tomorrow, right? We hear no a lot. So when we think of an idea, or or someone plugs into our head an idea of, hey man, you should win more races, the first thing we want to think of is, well, how can I say that I can't, right? Because we're used to identifying and that mentality. Now, if you're a parent watching, this is very key, especially for riders at 10 and under. You guys have to this environment that everything and anything is possible. Treat them that they are a champion. Treat them that they are enough. Okay, because I do to eliminate that one component that keeps shifting them out of state when it comes to winning races, or when it comes to performing, or just that one little program that derails them off the path, where they're just saying, yes, you can, yes, you can do it. And just really pay attention to your language of how you communicate, especially team managers and parents, and anyone that has any influence over your kid. You want to protect that environment and make sure that it is a yes environment. It's a you can environment. It is so critical. To be honest with you, from time to time, I fought with my father, right? Like, in terms of, like, 1 minute he would totally support me, the next minute he was in competition with me. And, so I got mixed signals. Yes, you can. No, you can't. And really, I mean, it's just goofy, right? Like, I tried playing basketball with him. My dad's really good at basketball. Filipinos, you win. Sometimes you got to let your kid win, right? Sometimes you got to let your kid be the superstar. It's incredible how much kids in the first 3 years of their lives, right? How much potential they truly have. And then when we start putting them to school, or when we start giving them discipline and telling them, no, they can't, don't do this, don't do that, that's too hot, don't touch that, they hear no, 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 8-to-1 to yes ratio. And man, that's a tough one to overcome, right? And for me, that was a tough one for me to overcome, right? That belief, believe it or not, of not being good enough, okay? And then, yeah, it's really tough. So, there it is there. You have to work on your beliefs and find reasons as to why you can do it. So important. So again, the 3 bodies we're talking about today is the physical body. Okay, you got to work on the strength, work on the power, work on your quickness, work on your ability to be a track and field star, if you will, a sprinter. You guys are sprinters. Okay. Next you want to focus on is behavior flexibility, that emotional body, right? Emotional IQ, having behavior flexibility, being able to go with the flow, and kind of being impartial to the circumstances when you show up. You don't care if you have an easy moto or a hard moto, right? Your goal at the end of the day is you're going to show up and take care of business. You're going to operate in the ideal performance mind state, get into that state, and then you're going to perform. Next, again, we talk about the mind, the mental body, right? Which consists of really 2 things. Again, we went really deep into mindset, because I really think that's the foundation when it comes to the mental body. But then, of course, we have the mind state, which, we might as well touch on that a little bit as well, because there are 2 components when it comes to the mental body, and I don't want to forget anything when it comes to these teachings. The mind state, again, everything's state dependent. So it's all about getting into a state that optimizes your chance to perform at your best. Give yourself the best ability to perform what you have mastered, what you have trained to do. You guys do all these sprints, these gates, and you're doing all this in an effort to create this automaticity, create this ability to master it, to do it without thinking. And then ironically, when it's time to perform, we get up on the gate, or we get in the staging, we see something, we hear something, we feel something, and it shifts us into a thinking state to where, you start doubting yourself. You start doubting yourself. You start to play programs of uncertainty, doubt. Or in the stock market, you hear about FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt, right? Same thing plays in the mental mind state in staging and behind the gate, and also getting into the gate. Okay, so that's where the emotional body and the mind state, they kind of go hand in hand, because you may be on the gate or behind the gate, and maybe you see someone wreck, right? Maybe you see another competitor in a semi before you who you thought was who was going to be a tough competitor come main time, didn't make it, or he did make it. Then it put pressure on you emotionally. You start to gather all these feelings, and these different feelings come up, and you don't have the flexibility to basically, right? And at the end of the day, everything is state dependent, and so everyone has their own ability to configure their own ideal performance mind state. Okay, and it's your duty, and it's your due diligence, and it's your job, and it's your responsibility to get yourself back in. Okay, that's what the great champions do. They don't let, you think about basketball players, like they have people in the stands, on the baseline, they got superstars, and they got Hollywood guys just yelling and saying profanities and whatnot. And they have to be able to deal with that, of the emotional flexibility of whatever's coming at them from the environment. And then also they have to deal with the inner environment of the other competitors, their own coach, and of course their teammates. A lot of stuff going on, and I love watching professional sports because it's amazing how much in their own ideal performance mind state. These guys, and for a majority of us who've been doing it a long time or maybe struggling, super important. All right, I think that's enough. Let's go to the chat room, see if you guys have any questions. If you guys are watching this on the replay, let me know what you guys are doing for the physical body, developing the physical body, developing the emotional body, and also developing the mental body in an effort for you to be doing pretty good. Cool. What are you guys doing over here in, let's see. Okay, cool. So we have a guy named Nope. He has a question, and we're going to do that. Cool. I tell you what, you guys think about what questions you guys want to ask me. Again, if you guys are watching on the replay, make sure you guys let me know what you guys are doing for the physical body, the emotional body, and the mental body. What would it do for you if you could enhance your power out of the gate, enhance your sprint speed down the first straight, of enhancing your BMX performance? Consider joining the community of BMX Training Pro and get the same access my Olympic athletes have enjoyed, as well as thousands of BMXers all over the world. Some members use the access to improve their gate start techniques. Some also use the access to keep them motivated to train, and you'll find your reason when you gain access and join BMX Training Pro today.
Stay focused, get ready now. For real, get ready now.
Nitro with the nice flow.
Stay focused, get ready now. For real, get ready now. Let's go, get back now. Check it out. This is how it's going down. Yeah.
All right, guys. Hey, welcome back to the show. Hey, are we doing pretty good on the buffering? I see it's buffering a little bit and whatnot, but anyways, have a couple questions coming in. Let's see here. We had one question that I wanted to address. Let me see if I can find it. Please forgive me. Let's see, the physical body. It was a question about a 9-year-old. Let me find it here. How can I get better at jumping? How can I get better at jumping? He said it twice. Don't worry, we'll get to that. Have you ever gotten to train Connor Fields? Let's see, what else? Do you have any advice on how I should coach my 5-year-old when he practices? Yes, we'll get to that. I need to work on my confidence for manualing. Let's see here. Manual tips for cruisers. Where is the 9? Okay, here we go. Question from Jeffrey Roden. Jeffrey asked, what should a 9-year-old be doing to prepare outside of track days? Awesome question, Jeffrey. Thank you so much, and welcome to the show. First and foremost, what should they be doing? Two things, right? There's so much opportunity away from the track to train, both on the bike and also off the bike. On the bike, I think they should be practicing, things like sprints, acceleration sprints, top end sprints, and also, if they don't have enough gas from the finish, from the gate all the way to the finish line, then they definitely want to consider doing interval work, right? Interval work. Okay, so 3 things that you can easily do on the bike, and that's aside from the other things that you could do, such as flat, gate starts at home if you have a gate. If perhaps you could practice bunny hops, manuals, and then of course, flat ground turns. But off the bike, I want to address that. It's certainly a demand of both strength and also some power, right? So it's an opportunity to do, pretty much strength work on flexibility, work on moves and such as, unilateral moves, bilateral moves such as squats, unilateral moves such as lunges, step ups, and whatnot. Lots of opportunity for 9-year-olds to train. If you haven't checked out bmxtraining.com, I think we have 4 or 5 different training plans in there, and they're all off the bike strength training. Go check it out. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. Let's see, what else do we have here? Joaquin Gaspar Zamora asks, Coach, what exercises can I do to have a better start and a better sprint too? What are you doing now to improve your start? What are you doing now for acceleration? Are you doing sprints? Sometimes it just comes down to having a consistent schedule of just doing it, right? One of my favorite books, which is called What You're Going to Do, Where You're Going to Do It, and What Time You're going to do it. Okay? Create a plan, create a schedule for your training. Because sometimes, more times than not, majority of the guys in here, I give you guys advice, but then you guys have no execution or any plan to integrate it into your performance program. And that hurts me, man. So do some sprints, identify a day when you're going to do it, where you're going to do it, who you're going to do it with, what time you're going to do it, how many you're going to do. Okay? You want to train with having intent, and having intent of putting it on your schedule of your performance program. All right? Cool. Then also you asked, what can I do to have a better start? Okay. A better start. So number one, what are your mechanics like? Are you, mechanically, we tend to overlook that. Are you leading with the head and shoulders first, right? Is your head too far up where the front wheel's coming up? Or is your head too far down where you're not able to open up the hips, because that's where we get a lot of power from, right? Are you able to keep your shoulders over the handlebar grips getting into the second pedal? Because if you're not doing that, based on Newton's third law, for every action is the opposite and equal reaction, then we have to rewind back and reverse engineer and look at what's going on from the starting stance. Things such as what can you do to improve a gait start, such as squats, lift weights, get bigger, faster, stronger. But I really think that you need to focus on the mechanics first, and then go ahead and supplement the strength work. All right. Thank you so much for the question. BMX 2525 asks, how did you mentally prepare yourself before the races? I know I often am racing upper class, and man, you're putting me on the spot. I wasn't always good mentally, I would say, in terms of like being spot on, through beginner into. That's part of life, right? Like every year we tend to deal with something that's somewhat significant preparation, when it comes to the emotional body, right? The behavior flexibility part. I would say from by the time you get in your teens, all the way through your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, all the way to your last day, mentally, it's a lifelong journey of work. And so I think what you want to do is, and I'm starting to, I know you're asking me, and I really want to help you. Listen, I think at the end of the day, you really want to focus on keeping it simple, right? Understanding what focus is, understanding what performance. Majority of us, we do better in practice. Out of 9 out of 10 athletes that I coach, they do better in practice than racing, believe it or not. I've only had one athlete that was actually terrible. I shouldn't say terrible, but just wasn't as good in practice than they were in racing. And it was just they knew what they wanted. They wanted to perform. They wanted to race. You couldn't trick them. You couldn't trick that their training or their practice time is more meaningful than the race time. Okay. So, and what's the learning of that? Ironically, they actually make the racing mean way too much or something different. Okay. So anyways, but I think at the end of the day, preparing yourself, you want to focus on the mind state, right? And work on getting yourself in that ideal performance mind state like that every time, right? Just like that. Whether it's a word, an affirmation, something you say to yourself, something that's written on the back of your plate, something that means something to you, where you could, for just a moment in time, get away from being, for me, it would be getting away from Greg and then being, the warrior Greg, right? The warrior Greg was tar. So work on that. And then, identifying your values and your beliefs, identifying any baggage or any kind of program that derails you off your path, which may discourage you from doing work, which may discourage you at the races from attacking and completing the goal or going after the mission that you want. Listen, I've prepared myself before where my values and beliefs and my training that I was going to win the world championship, and then I show up and all of a sudden something's telling me that, you know what, you're not the world champion. You should just go for something else different. Don't even bother, because you might let yourself down, and that's just the ego talking. And the ego is an irrational 8 to 10-year-old kid more times than not. And so for me, I discovered that I needed to celebrate that, because I discovered that there was back. I needed to work on that. I hired someone straight up to help me work on that. Okay. And that's the cool thing about racing, especially, going through the progressions of beginner, intermediate, expert, pro, is that you get to learn more about these barriers that we have, right? And really, at the end of the day, that's what competition's all about. It's about breaking through barriers and working on ourselves to become better, but not only better at sport, but a better person. Because if you could develop behavior flexibility at work, okay, whatever it is that you may do. All right, guys, let's see. What other questions do we have? How is the feed going? Is the feed going pretty good? Eric Rose says, good to see you, coach. Jacob James says, too much buffering. Yeah, please forgive me. I don't know what's going on. I need to have behavior flexibility, and my laptop needs to have behavior flexibility. Maybe I should check my feed here. I'm tethered in on, I'm hardwired in off the router. And let's see here. What is it? Speedtest.net. I'll check that out. Let's go to the next question while I check out the speed of the internet. It looks like download speed. JP says, all winter was easy because I was able to just follow your 30-day training program. But now with tracks open, I think for the most part, I think skills are important. I would shift a priority to where, identify your practice days and your race days, and then jump into one of the programs, or maybe hit me up. Maybe I could develop you a customized program to where we can work around your practice schedule, your local race schedule. If you plan on traveling, I could develop a program specific and tailored towards your needs based around your strengths and weaknesses and your schedule. Why not? Hit me up. I'll be happy to take care of you. Someone says they can hear me. The sound doesn't line up with the video. Yeah, I don't know. Please forgive me, guys. Just Ride says, how do I get better at racing? And he had to do it like 4 times. No, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times he typed it. No, 6 times. 7, 8 times. Okay, Just Ride. How do I get better at racing? Let me ask you this. Are you racing now? If you answer me that, then I'll definitely answer your question. Matt McClue says, wife would like to know how to keep her wheels down over lippy obstacles that she can't fully absorb with pumping. Ooh, man. Tricky question, Matt. Tricky question. I deal with that with some of my younger athletes in my Winter Circle program. Kids that are 6, 7, 8 years old. There's a track that sometimes you just have to do a half jump, right? And just land both wheels at the same time. You definitely don't want to have the back end flip you forward and then you land on the front wheel. I would say at the end of the day, Matt, safety first. When it comes to, you're going too fast to not jump, right? You don't want that lip to buck you off the back wheel and then you flip over the bar. So safety pedaling, start pumping. I definitely would not I wouldn't suggest anyone should back off unless they're straight up scared or they're going to crash. Second off, the other thing I would focus on is pushing your hips back enough to where you can even out the bike when it comes off the lip, right? So you got to get back and push your hips back. That's really, really key. All right, what other questions we have? We'll take a couple more questions. It's going to be a short night tonight. I have to prepare my move. I'm moving in a week and a half, and there's all kinds of stuff going on. Here we go, Jason Chang. Jason, hope you're doing well. Jason came to one of my Faster First Straight camps in Las Vegas. It was a 2-day camp. Man, I need to get back to doing those, huh? I need to get back to doing my Faster First Straight camps. Jason asked, any ideas for cruiser riders hitting their butt on rear tire absorbing jumps? Ooh, man, I would do that on my 20-inch. That's a tough one because, sometimes when you hit your butt on the back tire, that just means that you're getting low. And there's nothing wrong with that. That means you're going fast. I've seen guys with like fenders where they put a fender over the back tire, and that way they want that back tire to catch your butt and at an inopportune time and flip you over the handlebars. That's my only suggestion. Really, at the end of the day, other than that, I mean, what can you do, right? Get longer legs and then, push your hips back to where, you're behind the axle where there's less tire for your butt to touch. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, I would have to see video, Jason, to in an effort for me to get more context so I can answer that better. Just right. How do I get better at racing 3 more times again? Dude, do we need to put you on mute? Or are you going to answer me? We'll put him in timeout. All right. Let's see here. Jacob says, I got to applaud JP on the 30-day program. Let's see. What other questions did we have? I saw something else over here. Buffer Bros. Jonah Tillman, manual tips for cruisers. I would say at the end of the day, it's no different than doing it on a 20-inch bicycle. Definitely practice in a bicycle-friendly, safe area at home. Set up 2 cones. Look straight ahead. Push into the feet. And at the end of the day, one of the challenges just making sure that you kind of have some flexibility in the ankles, especially the both the front ankle and the rear ankle, and that will allow you to shift a little bit further back and keeping the front end from dropping down. I don't think it's any different when it comes to manually a cruiser versus a 20-inch bicycle. Jonah Tillman, I'm just looking for confidence tips. I'm only 12 and I ride a cruiser. Okay, so Jonah asked, I'm 12 years old, I ride a cruiser, and I'm looking for confidence tips. Okay, so, what does confidence mean to you? Because sometimes confidence just means that you know that you can do it. If you know that you can do it, and perhaps there's maybe some fear, uncertainty, doubt that's preventing you from doing it, despite the fact that you practice and know that you can do it, okay? At the end of the day, first and foremost, you have to know that you can do it, right? So are you able to do it with competence? Meaning, are you able to do it consistently? Okay, if you can do it consistently, then you know that you can do it, okay? Now you got to apply that into the context of racing, right? Maybe perhaps if you're nervous, your fear of, maybe you have some fear, some uncertainty, some doubt, and we don't know what that is. Maybe you have fear of not succeeding, fear of failure, fear of getting hurt, fear of crashing, okay? Then we need to identify those things independently, okay? But if perhaps you work on your confidence and you know you can do that, then maybe perhaps that FUD, that fear, uncertainty, doubt may go away, all right? Because everything is state dependent, meaning you need to be, it sounds like for you need to be in a confident state. So you need to identify what is it that puts you into a confident state. I know for me, I just need to relax. I need to be empowered, and I need to be ready. If I'm relaxed, empowered, and ready, that's my ideal mind state. Then I know that I'm confident, okay? All right, so you need to identify what does confidence mean for you? Maybe perhaps it's, mastery, knowing that you're powerful. Maybe it's being ready, right? You need to identify those one-word ingredients, right? And anchor it, and then trigger that anchor to put you into that ideal confident performance mind state. Now, I know you're 12, that's a lot. Please forgive me. And maybe perhaps you can get your father or your mother, your parents to watch this with you, get to understand what I do as a mental performance coach in BMX. And then if you guys are ready, maybe hit me up and I can help you guys out. JT Mack, my son's a 7 novice. Any training ideas at home? At 7 novice, one of the main things that you could do is have him practice balance. It's hard to having a really good gate start, right? So balancing at home, right? Have his front wheel up against a tire, front foot on, rear foot on, stand up, lean, push the hips back behind the seat. Just focus on balancing. That's a good one. And then from there, maybe practice the first movement, going from the starting position to the acceleration position. They're going to be more confident because it's going to become easier for them to do. And then from there, they can go ahead and focus on leaving on time with some power out of the gate. BMX is very progressional, especially for a 7-year-old novice, where there's so many different things to learn, so many different things going on. And then, at the end of the day, the beginning of a race starts at the gate start, right? So getting them to learn and feel comfortable and get to a point where they can balance without thinking about it. That way they can go ahead and start progressing into other things, such as focusing on when to leave and when to leave with power. Okay. Thank you so much, JT. Welcome to the sport. The AK pool, where are you moving to? I'm moving 10 minutes north. I live in Del Mar, California, and I'm moving to the city of Carlsbad. Going to be closer to a couple of different BMXers that you may or may not know. All right, I got time for one more question. Who's going to win here? Eric Rowe. He has a question. Coach, is there any other exercises to develop faster leg speed other than downhill sprints? Ooh, man, that's a tough one. Yes, because I would say at the end of the day, plyometric training can definitely help that. Because here's the thing, it's funny right? Because he said faster leg speed, and you said downhill sprints. Well, you're gonna certainly develop that when you're hitting top, and when you're hitting your top cadence, when you're able to, you're just right before you're starting to chop, right? Okay, so I'm presupposing that you're looking for that top end leg speed, and I would say downhill sprints, rollers would work. Maybe perhaps practice with flat pedals, right? Training your feet, I shouldn't say feet. What am I thinking? Training your abductors and your adductors, right? The glute medius and the minimus, and also the adductors, the inner thighs, training those muscles to turn on and off while your feet are on the pedals, right? And trying to keep your feet on the pedals. Make sure you wear a helmet, make sure you wear elbow pads, make sure you do this in a bicycle friendly, safe area. And if you can, maybe even do it on grass, because I don't want to be blamed for you putting on flat pedals, go in the street, get hit by a car, or, slip a pedal and all of a sudden you have a bunch of road rash, you got a concussion, all of a sudden you're injured because you took on this advice. Listen, I would do this with as much precautionary as possible. Always train with another partner. Sprint, sprint in a bicycle friendly, safe area. Wear all your gear, okay? But I would say at the end of the day, try practicing doing sprints with an easier gear and also flat pedals, okay? Give that a try. I think you will be able to get a little bit more of top end leg speed out of that, because at the end of the day, the challenge is to push through the ceiling, the upper threshold of what our maximum cadence is, right? And sometimes it's going to be supportive muscles, right? Not the primary muscles, not your hamstrings, not your quads, not your hip flexors and your glutes. Sometimes it's the abductors and your adductors, okay? So if you could train those, and again, I don't even know if you're riding clipped in. Maybe you are. Maybe it's for a kid. Maybe it's for a kid that has to, it's 12 and under in there. Lastly, the way I want to answer this question, Eric, power is a trip. So when it comes to top end leg speed, sometimes the minimal Please forgive me. Let me get my words correct here. When it comes to top end leg speed, sometimes the limiting factor to that is strength, right? And so not only strength in the moment of going over a jump and hitting the backside and pedaling in between jumps down the first straight where your maximum cadence is going to be at its highest, but perhaps if you could be stronger at the beginning of the race, okay? I have this theory, if you're stronger in the beginning of the race, certainly you're going to be stronger down the first straight and around the track, okay? And it comes down to muscle fatigability, right? Training those muscle fibers to be more fatigue resistant, okay? More fatigue resistant. If you can become stronger at the beginning of the race, you're going to be faster in terms of your top end leg speed at the end of the first straightaway. Straight up. I can't explain it. It's more of a kinesthetic thing. It's something that I've noticed in my own training. It's something I've noticed with other riders that I've coached and trained. And at the end of the day, when it comes to the equation of power, which is, again, force times acceleration, or how fast you can move mass over time, strength and force, whatever you want to call it, is going to be the limiting factor to power. The stronger you are, the more power you're going to develop. The more power that you could develop, the faster your legs are going to move in certain progressions of the first straightaway. All right, guys. Oh, man. I got to take off here. Jacob James, he has one more. Coach, have you ever experienced a concussion? If so, did you have any leftover dizzy feelings? You know, I have. It just, you know, concussions they're funky, right? Like there are certain grades of concussions, and I'm not a neuro or concussion specialist. I would say that you need to do some research on that. And I'm truly honored to and grateful to be your coach. Again, if you guys are finding any value in this and you guys want more, go check out bmxtraining.com. Guys, next week, taking the week off, we're going to do 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 weeks on, 1 week off. That's going to be the pattern of this show. I think by the time we do the new show that I'm going to be in the new house. Hopefully internet is up and running. Everything's going good. You guys have a great week, body, but also your emotional and mental body. See you guys in the next video.